Alright, we're looking at one of our athletes here from our Spring Training Academy. Jared's a U16, focusing on a passing drill called Hip Shooter. You've seen this on our website and on our YouTube channel. Real good drill session to take an athlete through the core mechanics of making a spin pass. The key learning points here are to have the athlete pass from the hip. Again, we generate all our power from our core. The other thing is to make sure that they're getting their hand behind the ball and they're getting a good power and force producing movements from the core, translating through the shoulder, extending at the elbow, and then eventually extending at the wrist, and making sure that both hands extend towards target. So as we go here, it's instantly you see where Jared has got his hands on the ball. What's interesting to note is the way he's gripping the ball. You can see in this frame right here, he's got his hands not quite in line, but very close to parallel with the seams, the finger seams with the ball. And we don't want that. What we really want the athlete to do is actually shake hands with the ball. We want their hands to be across the seams. And picture like a quarterback throwing a football. That way you got a better grip of the ball itself. You can have more control, and that allows, when the wrist snap comes in, allows you to put a little bit more force into the pass. So we'd want to be able to adjust Jared's hand position here. I would think Jared's doing that in order to compensate for the need, or feel he has a need to spin the ball. But really what happens as you push this ball out and we see your hand get behind it, it actually helps get a good rotation on the ball. So I do like the fact that Jared does get his hand behind the ball here. And you can see, although there aren't enough frames per second here, he does have his hand behind that ball, pushing it in an important direction, of course, the direction of the target. But we want to make sure that if we come back to the start, that his hands again fingers were across the seams, and his hand at an optimal angle, a bit more bend in the wrist, so that when he does, he's not pushing on a small part of the heel, but he's pushing through the entire palm of his hand in behind the ball in the direction of his pass. Good. Next we want to look at the other force-producing movements. We know the majority of force and strength comes from not only the legs, but the core. So there's a couple things we want out of our athletes in their setup. We'd like to see a little bit more of an athletic stance. As Jared settles down into his passing stance here, you can see he's very upright. And while he does have a good bend to his legs, we'd want a little bit more lean out of his body. A little bit more lean forward, so that when he does go to make this pass, he's getting a bit more torque and force and power in the direction of the target, which of course is here. As you note, as he tries to get some translation of power from the ground through the core up into the shoulder really doesn't move at all. And we'd want to make sure that he's getting a lot of torque and twist. Not over rotating, but you can see a good translation of power from where he starts, his starting position, into what we ideally want to be our finish position. So is he finishing far? Is he putting power in behind his shoulder? Not bad. Really like to see him get some good rotation in there and put some oomph, like he's throwing a punch. We always compare it to, the typical karate punch, where you punch from the hip and translate all that power into your pass. Just a little passive. If you put an athletic lean, translated good power through the feet, through the core, and gave a punch in his shoulder, it'd be a much stronger, more effective pass overall. Good things about Jared's pass here as we watch a few turns at full speed. It's a great finish. Good focus on what he's doing, and he's very consistent. So we just tweak those two things. Hand position on the ball, making sure his fingers are across the seams. A little bit more of an athletic stance and leaning towards the ball, and then he uses good power through the core and gets that punch in his shoulder. Finishes with both hands at target very well, though. Good job, Jerry.